Hey everyone, welcome to Past Lives and the Divine. I'm Gina, the host of this podcast, and today I have a couple things for you. So the first thing that I want to tell you about is the journey to the Akashic Records, and specifically your room in the Akashic Records. The Akashic Records is called by many things, including the Akashic Records, also the Hall of Knowledge, collective consciousness, all kinds of things. So I will tell you more about that journey and why I created that journey right before we get to that journey. And that is how this episode is going to end. But before we get to that, I have a conversation with someone in my orbit named Rebecca Wiley. So to me, she is Becky. And Becky went from a job in law to being an intuitive channel and coach. And all of that really, that shift, which was, years in the making, shifted for her this year. And so her and I are just talking about that experience and the personal growth that accompanies a decision like that and becoming uncomfortable before we actually execute on that decision. Her and I also kind of go into just what it was like having that mindset of like, what I have now is the safest option, being a corporate career, and what kind of deprogramming is needed. And we just talk a little bit about our experience with needing to deprogram from that corporate mindset, that college to corporate career is like the best and safest path. And her and I both disagree with that. So I don't often encounter someone who disagrees with that. I don't ever really talk about these things. I'm usually, if someone's willing to go deep, I'm usually on the spirit side. So it was just a fun interaction for me to have. So her and I talk about that. We talk about what made her join kinship, just her experience in it, and then where she is today and the type of work that her and her sister do. And I think it's important work, bringing more heart-centered, mental health-wise tactics to the corporate work site, and not necessarily in a way so corporations can say they're doing it, but in ways that actually work for people. One more thing before we get started. Kinship 2023 registration is now open. So if you want to join Kinship and be a part of the twice monthly gatherings, all the hypnotic journeys, all the different topics, the card readings I'm going to be sharing, and just the interaction with other people in this Kinship community, your only chance is to register between now and December 23rd of 2022. I just have registration open at the beginning of the year and then it closes, and I have a few days to just tie up some loose ends on the back end. And at the end of December, when you sign up for Kinship, you'll get an email from me that's just outlining the topic for January, the different monthly meetings, what'll be covered in those meetings, and just all the details, date, time, links. And hopefully I'll see you at our first meeting on January 5th. I sure hope so. So again, if you want to learn more about Kinship or sign up for it, go to pastlivesandthedivine.com, click on Kinship. Yes, so if you want to join us, do so before December 23rd of 2022. On to the show. So first, again, my conversation with Becky, and then after that, I'll describe a little bit more about the Akashic Records and the journey, and then you'll go right into that journey, and that's how this podcast episode ends. So first, let's gather around the fire for this conversation with Becky. Hi, Becky. Thanks for
Gina.
joining us. Can you tell these wonderful listeners a little bit about yourself?
Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Wiley. I go by Becky. I'm located in the Midwest in Columbus, Ohio. I am a stepmom, a sister, a daughter, a wife, all the things. And I just recently had decided to quit my job in corporate America and join my sister. We have a small business where we contract with, heart-centered leaders to provide, business and leadership consulting.
I think that is really cool. Becky, you and I haven't really talked a ton about it, like just from being in your orbit. Like I know that little bit about it, but just hearing about you and your sister through Sarah Leverett is just like what badass business women, and just like bringing your human design, and it just sounds so cool. So we'll have to like dig a little more into that in a little bit. um,
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that.
yes. Okay. So let's like rewind like a year ago at this time when you were thinking about maybe joining kinship. I guess I'm just curious as to like what your mental process was. Like, did you feel like on the fence? Did you have hesitations? Was it like an automatic, yep, I'm doing it? Like, what was your process with that?
Well, I mean, for me, I had been listening to you for, quite a while. I had, at one point tried to get in on your schedule, but you were booked. So I was introduced to Sarah Leverett and went to her for my first past life regression session, my first and only. And I will say it was so good that I am still probably a year and a half later integrating the lessons that I
Yes.
got from that. So when I saw that there was going to be an opportunity for me to join a group of other, beings who are sort of on the same self-discovery path, I mean, I jumped at it. It was an immediate yes. I'm a generator, so like I definitely go with, in human design, so I definitely go with like what is my gut feeling on it. At the time I was starting to receive human design coaching from my sister. And it really helped shed light on like some of the things that I thought about myself that I needed to fix. And it started to shift my mindset to it. I don't have to fix this. I just need to find people who get me. And so I saw this opportunity and I'm like, well, I'm on it. Like, I'm going to see what happens. I could use some friends who don't look at me like I'm, batshit crazy when I'm talking about some of the things that I'm interested in or some of the things that I've experienced. So, yeah, it was an immediate yes. Mainly because like you for sure resonated with me, like your sort of attitude and outlook on things, the irreverence for like being so like stuffy and all of that was just so refreshing. And it's like, yes, I'm going towards that way.
Yeah, I
So
get that
yeah.
same vibe from you. That's why I like you. One of
Yes.
the reasons.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, that is so cool. So out of that, like knowing that's what you were looking for, knowing that's what you wanted, and that's a really good point. Like if I get it, like as someone who has tried to book with people and I'm like, 5 months from now, you want me to book an appointment? Like it's nice as a business owner to be in that position, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I've never really thought of it in that way of like, yeah, if you can't get in with a session, like this is a really great way to get in and still get that information. We can still get time together. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And it's ongoing. So that's really cool. So
Yes.
everything that you were kind of looking toward, did you get it? How did it unfold? Like now, a year later, looking back,
Ah,
what happened?
oh, Gina, it was better than I ever expected. It was at the time during COVID where you couldn't really get together with your friends and everything. And, I'm like, let me find some, it was also at the time where it was like past the point where everybody's doing happy hours and stuff like that virtually together. And so this was an opportunity for me to have some like connection, even though I was isolated in my house. And not just like surface level happy hour type of connection, like a very deep, rewarding self-discovery connection.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, honestly, like I definitely, credit the kinship community and you, playing a huge role in my transformation over the last year and my, just the growth in my ideas and the way that I see the world and opportunities to sort of rewrite my story and what I'm telling myself and learning from other women who have been through, similar situations or, how like hearing their stories and just knowing like I can shift my life too. Look at all of these amazing women.
Yeah.
They're doing it, so gave me the courage to, to keep going. And the connection and the belonging that I felt when I was with this community, is extremely powerful for me. And,
Yeah.
I consider all of you friends now, which, I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought, oh, it'll be nice to meet new people who sort of are not going to look at me like I'm crazy, or maybe I can learn from people or whatever. But I didn't expect to really like fall in love with all of
Oh,
you as
right.
friends,
I feel the
Yes.
same way. So just in the last year, like for me personally, just when you talk about that connection and belonging, like I fucking created it and wasn't expecting that. Like,
Yeah.
of course you create a group experience, you want people to feel that. But I guess it just kind of took on a different feeling. And especially as someone who's facilitated groups for fucking nearly 20 years, like I've never felt, like I look at you all and I'm not kidding when I say it. Like you, Becky, I don't know if you remember, but like in the Virgo episode way back with Meredith, I was like, oh, the Virgo woman is just like, I think of her as just like this woman who's just fucking got it all together and it seems so fucking easy for her. And she's just got all her lists and all her things and all her plans and everything placed out. And like, to me, it's kind of like a God damn it, because it reminds me of like something that I want in my life, apparently. But that is how I see you. And that's how I see so many people in the group of like, wow, like I can't believe, again, I've said this so many times, like, I just think you're such a badass bitch. And to be like, oh my gosh, this is your path. And like I played a part in it is just wild to me. And the fact that I got that out of it too, way more than I thought. Like I always just think of me as kind of like the creator of the space for other people, which I love doing. But especially in an isolating move across the country, I've had a lot of people be like, you moved away from all your friends. And it's like, well, I'm being a little generous as to what the setup was before. But yeah, like I don't know anyone locally really. And or at all. But I know that I did not feel like, I know that I felt loved, connected, and belonging every time we met in kinship. And I just, even just now looking back on the year, like I just rewatched one of our gatherings like from July or something. And it was right before I moved. And even to just see like, man, I remember that day, like looking back at it being like, oh shit, I'm, like my shit was packed on a truck. We were literally leaving in like 12 hours. And I just remember being like, oh shit, okay, I got to do this. And just like getting my mind. And I remember how I felt afterward. And it was like the exact opposite. I was feeling like overwhelmed, shitty, annoyed, resentful of everyone and everything before. And like after our time together, it was just like, like this is what matters. Like these feelings are what matters. And it's so powerful. I feel that. And I was so surprised by it as the creator. So I'm glad you felt the same way. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, you're a change maker. Like whether you, really like take that into your soul and like put it, with a badge of honor, but you are visionary, you are a change maker. And, the way that you are able to facilitate the group is probably, I've been in a lot of like, corporate America for 30 years. Like I've sat through like, all kinds of facilitated events and workshops and groups and things like that. And you really are truly talented at it. The way that you are able to like bring things back. And, my husband's he's a comedian, and I think it's called a callback or something like that. The way you weave the story of our group, like it's every single time, it's impressive. It's impressive. So
Holy
when
shit.
you say you
Thank
look
you.
at me as I have it all together, I'm like, yeah, no, I think that's more you than it is me,
Yeah. Wow. That means a lot to hear that, because it's honestly one of the things that I feel like I am not great at, is like, like the actual tangible, like we're facilitating this group and I'm staying on time and
Oh no,
like from my vantage point. So I'm glad that looks like that to you.
yeah, you're fantastic at it. You're
Okay,
fantastic
good.
at it.
And I have like literally been in a public speaking role, I guess. As I throw myself under the bus there, I can logically be like, I have almost 20 years of like public speaking. So I think that's part of it too. But also, I've just got a wily mind and it's very curious. So I'm glad that it meshes on some level.
Yes, it does. It does.
So looking back on that, like in terms of like the whole experience, like that idea of connection and belonging, which is so huge. I've talked about it on the podcast before, about like that is like a common thread of every past life regression, is like some sort of like callback to a thread of love and belonging, whether it was like, wow, I see it was there and I blocked it, or wow, I see that I blocked it before these people could even show it to me, or I denied it, or whatever. I isolated myself. And it always comes back as like either something they were really proud of, something that made it a good life, or something they regretted. And that piece is just so interesting. Like a year later, after creating kinship and just having that be a constant in the last 2 years, is huge. And so my question to you, Becky, is like, yes, that. And I'm curious about like if there was a specific like topic we covered or journey we did that stands out as like, and I'm sure you're when you eat lunch later, this answer will change, but like right now, like what stands out as like something that was really impactful, or something that you took with you and thought about, or just seemed heavy to you at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I kept, like I'm by training and by, my degree, I'm a paralegal. So I take notes and I'm a project manager. So like I keep things organized. So, I have this little book that I kept throughout kinship when we would meet. And I would write down like, the different meetings that we had, and I would write down like things that people said that really struck me. And I can tell you, like, pretty much every single one, there's like some quotes that were like, that helped me shift. The idea of building connection to the unknown. And I don't know if this was around the January one. In January, we talked a lot about fear and how that can block our intuition. It felt like that was an easy like entry into the topics, is just that we covered over the past year, was intuition. And like the idea that like we are not our thoughts, which is something that came up in the January session that we had. We're not our thoughts, and how our fears can keep us blocked from moving forward. So that was something that was super impactful. And I would also say like, shadow work. Like when we started in September with shadow work, it's a scary topic, I think, if you don't really, know what it is about. So I learned a ton. I also got, amazing quotes from several people, but like, I think for me, Mary, who I just adore, and, I just listen to her, tell her stories, and I just like sit there and just want to soak in all her knowledge. But her quote that she said about your story is your gift was like, probably, like, I tracked and I literally wrote down aha moments. That was probably the biggest aha moment for me, because it really, like, you think about it and you're like, your life story, you can either look at it and be like, God, that was fucked up shit, like, God, how did I make it through that, or whatever. And getting to a certain point where you can look back in gratitude whether that may sound weird or not, like for me, it was like looking back in gratitude for, my mother passing away when I was 6 years old. I wouldn't be who I am now if that didn't happen to me. I mean, it's just, that's the truth. I could be a completely different person. So that for me was like a huge, oh wow, I'm still processing that and still integrating that, into my psyche.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
Hmm.
Yeah, the shadow work piece was, I feel like I felt passionately that we do it, and we were doing it in hypnotic arts. And I was like, let's do it in kinship too, just because it is such a big thing. And I think, as you've heard me say over and over before, I think that the fear that we're set up to feel around those things, whether it is just like the skeletons in your own closet or the ghosts in your closet or whatever, like
Hmm.
that fear just really gets in the way. It makes us confused and gullible, and to be able to move through that is huge. And just hearing what people have said about it. And I had a conversation with Steph, kin member Steph, which that podcast episode is going to air tomorrow. She said the same thing about just like how it was really eye-opening to see like, okay, when we talk about shadow work, what are we talking about? Why don't we need to be afraid? Most people are.
Yeah.
And after going through it with you all, and myself, like just understanding even more about how Sarah Leverett like teaches it and presents it to clients and students, like I learned in that too. And it just made me feel even more passionate about talking about that stuff and doing those things and sharing those stories, because to be afraid in that space doesn't help anyone or anything. And it's just like, if we know our power, we don't have to be afraid in that space. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That was, you know, those were probably the biggest topics. Um, I really enjoyed our entity removal, which, you know, was the first time I've ever been a part of something like that, with other people. Um, so it was really moving. It was moving. It was fun. It was I think some people face their fears. It was fun to watch people sort of process live. So yeah,
Yeah.
that was a lot of fun. I loved that.
Yeah. So what Becky's talking about is part of kinship in 2022 was 2 live hypnosis sessions. And the one we just did at the beginning of November wasn't a live entity removal. And I'm actually going to be sharing that on the podcast in January, just so people can hear it and hear what it was. But what was so cool was, so we did it live on Zoom. So I was the facilitator. Becky, who's going to be on the podcast tomorrow, Steph, who's going to be on the podcast tomorrow, she was the client, or also the medium. So I put her into trance. In that trance state, she scans the building, we have a conversation with the entities, and then we ask them to leave. And what's so interesting is when I was talking to Steph, she actually said, she's like, so now it's been a couple weeks and we're going to do a circle back and share that as a podcast episode too. But she said that she was a little afraid going into it, which is totally fine. Like fear is okay as long as it's not in the driver's seat.
Mm,
And she
yes.
was saying that the energy feels different, but she's like, I feel like it's changing in the sense of, and I didn't say this to her before or after, but I feel like there's more going on there than we know of. And sometimes when we walk into those spaces, literally or figuratively, a lot of these energies will just kind of like hang back and see how it goes. And
Yes.
so next time we come, maybe more will come out and can be released to the light. But that's another reason why I'm also so passionate about being compassionate to these energies and these entities.
Hmm.
Because if I roll in there guns blazing, like, get the fuck out of here, like I'm whatever, like, first of all, that's like kind of fearful behavior, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, if we show up, we're compassionate and helpful, all these entities that are kind of like side-eyeing from the deeper, darker places, will more likely come out and have that interaction. But what's so funny is how she said she was able to say, like, show up in that space and say, okay, she didn't share this with me before it, but she said beforehand, she just said with her spirit guides, like, I only want any entities to come forward who have been human before. Like, she set that intention, and we had 5 earthbounds come forward. And I thought that was such a fucking power move to be like, man, I'm afraid. What am I afraid of? Well, I wouldn't be afraid if I knew what I was getting, and I'd be okay with this situation. And then you ask for that, which is setting boundaries. And then that's what you get. And I just thought that was a really cool finesse and way to like still do the work, hold space for your fear, but like put it in the trunk of the car.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah, it was such a cool thing. And I can't wait to do more of that stuff. Like she's totally down to be my medium guinea pig. I'm like, oh, I'll do more of this. So we're going to share that on the podcast. It'll be super fun.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. Okay. So the last thing that I want to talk to you about, and you can share as much or as little as you want, but throughout this year, you said something about, and I want to discuss just the big career change that you made. So whatever you want to share about that whole process, like the decision to do it, if it was quick, long, how you feel now after you made it, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Yeah. No, it was a very long process. I've always sort of been somebody who's not afraid to like just shift and change my life. I had, I don't know how many years ago, 25 maybe. I was working in telecommunications. I was like a customer service and national account manager. I was in sales, and my sister was in law school, and I got interested in some of the work she was doing and the cases she was, and I was like, I don't want to go to law school, but I'm interested in working in law. So I quit my job, went back to school full time, got my degree in paralegal studies, and then finished a bachelor's in business administration. While I was doing that, I worked for the government for many years, and then I shifted into e-discovery, which is basically legal technology, supporting big data clients with litigation. And it is an extremely lucrative career. I made very good money without having a super advanced degree. But it was probably the hardest job I've ever had in my life, because it was, for the most part, very toxic. It is like lawyers with tech bros, like imagine the nightmare. So yeah, that is what people in that space are kind of dealing with. Now, I will tell you, I still have tons of friends who are in that industry. They're amazing people. I have a very close friend she's an absolute change maker, visionary, and she is trying to change, the direction of things. But when I say people sleeping under their desks or, working, they've thrown their back out, laying on the floor and working. I like, one story is, I had a lawyer call me one morning on a Saturday morning at like 10 a.m. I've got my stepson at baseball, and I pick up the phone, and this dude is screaming at me over a database, over some documents. There's no, it was like, God. I think it was more of a surreal moment. And so that is like, that probably happened to me about 4 years into my career, when I really started like, okay, now I know the stuff, I'm good at it. People look to me for advice, clients request me, I know what I'm doing. And I had that one client, and it shifted everything for me. It made me say, you know what? I hear about this. I hear about people who are really good at this job being abused, and now I'm in that seat. So at that moment, I decided, okay, I'm going to have to figure out a different course for my career. Fast forward to last year, my sister started, she quit e-discovery 3 years before I did. And she worked on a extremely abusive client, huge corporation that everybody knows, and with a law firm that is known for being just raging assholes who treat people like absolute garbage. And my sister is brilliant. She's a lawyer. She has a degree in human rights. And she just said, fuck it. She saved up her money and just left. And then she found human design. And then her idea was to bring human design into the mainstream. Like, she wanted to share it with people that were in the industry she was in, lawyers that she practiced with. She felt like it was so impactful that she had to share it. So on the side, I'm doing this e-discovery thing, but at the same time, I'm also, a learning coach for every new person that comes in the door. I'm mentoring sometimes at least 6 people at a time. So I was very passionate about mentoring. I knew that's where I could make an impact with people, because I was told by people, your mentorship pushed me to the next level. Your mentorship and your ability to help me get to the root of the problems is what helped me shift. She asked me, help me put together this coaching program. So we put together this crossroads workers coaching program. We then rolled it out and did a beta program with about 6 other people. And I would say of those 6, half of us have since quit the jobs that we were in and moved on to better, better things, different things, different places. Yeah. I mean, that for me, and it's funny because I know she would say, I'm coming for all the miserable people in corporate America. That's what we say, is we're coming for all of you. We're going to show you there's a better way to do this, So that coaching program, it helped me sort of get clear on what I wanted for my future. Come January, I had joined Kinship was part of my plan to help me shift. So, finding community, that was I looked back and that was one of my things. And I had joined Kinship, and, between her coaching, between your group and the ladies that I met through there, and then my boss, who was a new boss to me in January, she, things started to really feel good again. And I thought, okay, I can just stick it out. I'm just going to really focus in, lean into my passions, lean into the things I'm excited about. And I did that. And then, 5-6 months later, so I would say about June of this past year, my boss, who I ended up, she shifted the way that I saw myself. She flat out told me, your talents are wasted on clients. You should be teaching people how to do this in a sustainable way. They don't need to be under their desk. They don't need to be working 60 to 70 hours. They need to, they need someone to show them how to do this differently. And she, she had such a rough time, and someone approached her, and she jumped 3 levels and moved on to this other company. So there I was left with sort of a broken team. Our team really, really loved her. She was an amazing leader. And they then, we sort of started going through rough times. When you don't have a leader, you don't have anyone to protect you from, abusive clients, or being overloaded with work that you just really don't have time or patience for. I was at that point, I started to really become burned out again. And I got into a really bad headspace. And I feel like the universe needed me to get super uncomfortable, to the point that by the time August came, I literally feeling physically sick every morning before work. That had not happened to me in a decade at least. You know, I'm not the type of person, like I worked for the same place for 7 years. Like I can, you know, stay someplace for a long time, but I'm also not afraid to like go somewhere and be like, oh yeah, fuck this, I'm leaving in 3 months, you know, like, so for me, it was like, I was leaving a lot of money on the table. I was leaving seniority. I was leaving, you know, a long career at one place. And I started to think, okay, well, maybe I'm ready for the next step in this industry. And I went through an interview process, and, you know, I met with like the top leaders, and they loved me, and it was going to be a different type of role. And they were like, you're just amazing. We think you'd be, you know, awesome for our team and all of this. And we can't hire you right now because when we posted this, we had the funds, and now we no longer have the funds. So that was like another like, oh, let me knock you off your course. And, you know, at the same time, things got so uncomfortable at my current job that I just was so miserable. And my sister is like, so you uncomfortable enough yet? What are you waiting for? And, you know, the reality is like, I had a lot of conditioning to shed around, you know, like, what am I walking away from? Like, this is a huge risk. And I think between the kinship group, and in this particular thing, specifically listening to you and Mary tell your stories about, you know, how you were able to away from America really made me realize, and my sister saying, seriously, this is not as risky as you think.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, it's a huge risk to walk away from a job. And you know, the reality is like actually not as risky as I thought it was. And what the moment that I said, I can't do this anymore, I'm quitting. And when my director asked me, the executive director asked me, like, is there anything we can get you to do? You know, anything we can do to get you to stay? You know, what are you moving on to? I was like, there's absolutely nothing. And I'm not moving on to anything. There's no like job offer for you to offer me or anything like that. I just don't want to do this shit anymore at all, ever again. And it was like, Gina, my body was rejecting that work so much that I was so sick my last week there that I couldn't even complete my last week. I was sick, and I ended up with COVID, which was the first time I'd, you know, gotten, hopefully the first and only time I gotten COVID. And I literally was just like, it was like my body is rejecting this entire lifestyle. And so I shipped my stuff back, and I have not looked back. I've never been happier. Like the amount of free time that I have to like explore the things that I'm passionate about. You know, I'm a lifelong learner. I like to learn, and I never had time or space for that, you know, working those hours. So, you know, for me, it was really scary, but being surrounded by such strong women, visionary, change making women, made me feel like I can do this too. I can do this too. Like, you know, shut up to my ego who was telling me, you're not a lawyer, and you're not this, and you're not that. Like, it is risky for you. It's not risky for them, but it is risky for you. Yeah. Saying, shut the fuck up. No, it's not. Like, I don't have to listen to that. You know, I've been working really hard to like decolonialize my mind, and, you know, sort of like every time those type of patriarchy type of thoughts, the capitalism shit creeps into my brain, like ever since August, I'm just like, nope. I refuse to live like that. I'm not going to live like, you know, like the world is not abundant. Like we don't have all that we need. And I know for sure the universe has my back and me taking this path, because every time I had an opportunity to stay on that path, I was knocked off of it. And when I needed it, a friend who I worked with many years ago, who apparently never forgot about me and how much I, like made an impact in her, approached me and was like, do you want to come work with me? And I'm like, I don't want to work for you, but we could work together. What about, let's think about a contract. Let's talk about this. And she was like, yes, let's do it. I'm excited for you. And it was like, okay, well, I guess, it landed literally. I had no idea it was coming. And that is how I have started to really trust. Like, I'm just going to trust the universe and trust what path I'm supposed to be on, I will end up on. And, since then, the reoccurring themes and messages that I get are, around listening to my intuition, is that there is no wrong path, that all paths are valid. And if you're not supposed to be in a certain, situation, whether that's a home that you live in or a relationship that you're in, a job that you're in, those things will work themselves out if you really focus on healing yourself. So
yeah. And I think like what I'm hearing in your story too is like something I feel in my own life. I know I've talked about it before, but just this idea of intuition and following our intuition. And we always think it's going to be like this fucking burning bush moment. And
yes.
It's not. A lot of times
No.
It's just like the next step. I know it's not this, or all I know is the next step is this. And I just even think about like living in Prescott, Arizona. It's like, every day I'm like, I can't believe I moved here. Like I literally was in Sedona and was like, all I know is Northern Arizona is it for me. And I was going to do Flagstaff, but series of events ended up in Prescott. And I'm like, this place, I have been living in this valley on these mountains more than this lifetime. And what's so cool is like, I could have never researched that into existence, but it was like just being here and being like, wait, they have this here too, and this here too. And I think that we can see that like on the most rewarding journeys is like, I'm just going to trust the next step. And people will be like, oh, I need to trust it. I need to trust it. And it's like, yeah, like, and because you need to means you haven't been, which means it ain't going to be comfortable. Like, so like follow your intuition, make the decision, and then take care of yourself. Like, what do you need?
Yes.
Yeah, it's huge. And even just everything you were talking about there about like the moving out of the corporate space and just like the vision we have of ourselves inside of ourselves, and then the vision we think that everybody else has of us. Like that was so much of my deep programming and so much of my anxiety and depression when I like quit my wellness coaching and corporate consulting gig, was just like, I feel like everything I used to identify with is gone. And now what?
Yes.
And yeah, like super painful, but also pushed me like where I need to be. But even being like, I'm going to take a year off. Like when I was so burned out, like my body physically, like yours was just like, I can't do it. And I'm like, I'm going to take a year off. I had the savings to do it. And I'm like, I'm going to figure out what I want to do. I'm going to get real bored and figure out what I want to do. And it was like literally a month before my last contract ended. I wasn't doing as much work. It was the only contract I had to finish up. And it was like, by the time that was done, I was resisting hypnotist. I was like, I don't want to be a hypnotist. Like, and clearly that was because I thought that meant, I don't know, not as prestigious, too weird. I don't know, whatever that meant to me. But even just like seeing that in myself at that time, it was like, okay, this is a thing. Like I had done so much work deprogramming the patriarchy, corporate capitalism, that it was like when that showed up, I'm like, okay, this is what I want. So how am I going to get beyond it? And I think that we struggle with that. And what you said, Becky, about the like, well, they can do that but I can't. Like, that's not for me. And that it was like, yes, of course, like as much as it's unfortunate, like we do need money to survive, whatever.
Yeah.
But like, we think the best way to do it is pay a fuck ton for college and then go be someone's slave until you're 65 and then come out with all your money that supposedly you're going to get. And I think that like that programming is instilled in us from the time we sit down in kindergarten.
Oh,
You
yes.
know, it's
And
like that whole thing.
yeah, and it's my sister is my soulmate. We can just put that there. Like, she is always challenging me to think differently. And like, she's brilliant, and she would just be like really annoyed with me right now if she was sitting here with me that I'm like saying this, but she is brilliant. She's, like, she had a degree in human rights. And she went to law school, and she clerked, for a judge who, handled like kids who were not getting the resources, disabled kids who were not getting the resources they got, or that they needed. She participated in her human rights program, like the Dayton Peace Accords every year. And, she did pro bono work, helping U visa victims, which are victims, undocumented victims of domestic or just violent crimes, helping them get visas. She did pro bono criminal cases, so she's done a lot of things, and most of them have been centered around helping people. Justice, equality is something that was very ingrained in us. But she basically helped me shift. She's also a lifelong learner. She reads a ton about climate change and what's coming for us and things like that. And she's always thinking like 20 steps ahead of everyone else. And she's the one that made me realize, like, what this 401k, like, is it even going to be here for me in 20 years, 15, 20 years? Also, are we even going to be here? Is our society going to look the same in 25 years? And the reality is it's probably not. Like, what am I saving all this for?
Yeah.
And back into like a system where people are just playing with my money. Like, they're just playing. And I think the higher I've gone in corporate America, the more I learned that I should not discount. I'm not saying this about anybody that I've specifically have worked for, but what I will say is I have observed people who are in these roles, and they're just making this shit up as they go. They're no smarter than anyone else. They really aren't. There's a lot of mediocre white men out there. I love y'all, but there's a lot of them running things, and people are rejecting that. They want leadership that has a heart, that has compassion, that has empathy. And it's not a hollow, like you were saying about, you're ticking a box. No. The leaders actually, when you ask somebody how they're feeling, or if you notice that they're not like performing well, there's a root cause to that. Do you care to find that out? Or do you just want to like put a Band-Aid on it and give them extra? Yeah, let's give them an app for therapy. No, not the job is literally their stressor. Like, but my sister helped me realize, like, it's not a huge risk. It really isn't. Like, I could go back and do what I've been doing for the last 7 years.
Yes.
Someone would hire me to do that again if I had to. And I recognize the privilege, that I have to be able to do this, because I know that there's people out there who wouldn't be able to do this. If they don't have a partner to support them, they live alone, things like that. They don't make the wages that, allow for them to put a lot of money aside. Like, I realize I'm in a position of privilege. But part of our business is that we like to share resources, and my sister ran the human design of the business, and it is that energy of sharing resources. Wow. And we're not doing things the old capitalist way. Sarah may have shared with you, but we ask people not what they want to make per hour. We don't do per hour. It is, what do you need to survive? And when she asks people that, when she asked me that, it's like, well, damn, I don't know. I have no idea how much I need to make to survive. It really like started a process for me to see like, okay, what do I need? And then what we do is we go out and try to find contracts where we can make sure that they get the money that they need. And the goal is to go from need to want. And all of this is done working not even part-time, you know, a
Yeah.
lot less hours.
Yeah.
So when she tries to explain this to like banks or, you know, even like people who are, you know, business consultants, they reject what she's saying. They think, you know, like my sister's not making like a bunch of money off of these contracts. She's doing a small portion and she's taking a small portion. She is making sure that, you know, the people that we're partnering with are making what they need to survive. And we don't ask them how many hours you worked. We're not monitoring, like, we're all adults.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
you're all adults. You'll get your shit done. And if this works, if we'll just keep going and we're going to try to get you from need to want. And so she's trying to do something different and offer that to people as a bridge to come out of the matrix. Here's a
Yes.
bridge where you can make what you can use your skill sets, make what you need to make to survive, but also have plenty of space to, you know, imagine, create, do the things that you're passionate about, honor your energy and how you work. And that's how she sort of assigns people to like specific tasks within a project, is like, you know, this person's human design. And so we use human design and how we do our business. And
I just think that's so brilliant. And you know what it reminds me of is a couple years ago, I ran like a few groups where we would get together and ask like just general questions that humans kind of have. And one of them was about like human evolution. And in particular, we were asking about like ETs, who are they to us?
Yeah.
And it was so cool because the discussion afterward, like 4 or 5 different people shared, and their collective sharing created this story that everybody kind of built off. It was so interesting to watch it unfold, but it was essentially like this, like humans on Earth have always been evolving. And that evolving includes exploration, discovery, growing, learning. And that has historically throughout human history, or at least, I don't know, the way we think of it, I guess, in the overculture, is that exploration was like external, land, ownership, money, all of it. Now we're going into space, all of that stuff. And it was like, now the shift is most of us have our basic needs met. Life is not as dangerous as it used to be, not as mortal as it used to be. And so even if there are plenty of people who go without, but the resources that are created on Earth could sustain everybody if triaged in a way that was the goal and not necessarily to make money. And so with that is this push to explore, grow, change in our minds and in our hearts. And so I see that as like, eventually that change is going to happen in the work site. And I think it's like people like you who are like just wild enough to do it. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people want to do it. A lot of people want to do it who are going to be like jealous and nasty about it. But at the end of the day, for us wild people who just think we might be able to be the ones to do it, even if no one else is, like, we are the ones who like break the dam. And my hope is that, like, you know, even with hypnosis and stuff, that people are like bored with it in a decade. It's like, yeah, like, let's move on to other things. Like, can we get there faster, quicker? Do we even need to fuck with hypnosis and an induction? And I do think that that is a reality in our future. But just like that human evolution within our minds and our hearts and like that soul connection. And that's what I see like you two leading, which I think is perfect, right? It's like, why why wouldn't you do it? You have the means to do it. You have the wild heart to do it. So it's
Yeah.
like, I just think like that's the intersection that needs to happen. And it gives people, not only everyone you work with, gives them like the healing experience of like learning through themselves, of like through human design and like all the other personal coaching that you guys do. And yeah, I guess it's all just to say, like, it's good for those people, but it's good for everybody in your orbit who watches it. It's good for everybody who hears this story. Because even
Yeah.
if they don't have an idea in this vein, just seeing someone do something different in corporate America is impactful. I mean, all the shame I used to feel, like I was just telling you, like I got fired once from a contract because they looked at my website and saw in a blog post that I had, like I said the word shit or something. And as much as in my heart, I'm like, that's so stupid. And I'm so glad, because that was like one of my last contracts. But like,
Yeah.
I just feel like, yeah, like that shit is just, it's changing.
Well,
People are
it
evolving.
is. Yeah.
Yeah.
The people want something different. And, my sister, she has turned down work. She's very specific. Like, you need to accept that this is who we are and this is how we do things. And if you don't like it and you are trying to get us to conform to the way you run your business, then you're not the right partnership for us. You either accept us as our full selves, because people bring their full selves to work, or it's just not a good fit. Like with her, she just says like the companies that are not an energetic match for us just won't be in our line of sight.
Yeah.
Like they just won't approach us, and we are totally fine with that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel very lucky that we were able to quickly, have two people who, we both really adore approach us to, help them fix some situations. Because at the end of the day, she and I are both fixers. That's a genetic trait. Like like it is with our family. We just go in and fix stuff for people. And so we're really good at getting to the root of a problem and then actually fixing the problems at the root instead of helping them put band-aids on it. And I think, the more companies are actually going to be transparent and say, we know that our culture or the way that we're doing things or the way, the way we're trying to meet the needs of our employees isn't working. We need people who actually understand how humans operate, how in their heart they feel, what is their soul's desire. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we may not be able to do that from this position as like leaders in this corporate capitalist company, but we can hire people or contract with people who do. So my sister's coaching people in corporate America using human design. And every time people who know about human design hear that, they're wowed by it. They're wowed by it. But it's super powerful. And it doesn't have to be super woo-woo, but you can still use it as a basis.
There's personality tests all over in corporate America. What's the difference of whether you're doing a strengths finder or a human design? Right. It's the same shit. It's like, get over yourself. What, the guy wasn't white enough, Like,
yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. So, and also with those, it's like they're answering questions that you're sort of aware or might, I want to make sure I answer these questions the same way. Like, I know this question came up before. How did I answer it? I don't want to answer 100 questions. I want to give you my time, location, and date of birth. And you tell me about my design. And every single person who even was skeptical of it, like, some of our friends that did the beta program are very science, corporate America, that kind of thing, were wowed by how accurate it was. It really did help people shift.
Oh, yeah. I believe it. I have no doubt. And like, what a breath of fresh air for all of the people that just I know of who are like this and in corporate America. I mean, it's so many of my clients. And so to like, just like if you were like in the closet, spiritual, human design, astrology nerd, and to like
Yes.
when your work site brings that, it must be like fucking Christmas. Like, what?
Yeah.
So tell me, like, tell
Yeah.
everybody, and I'll put it in the show notes too, but like, if someone wants to learn more about what you all do, even hire you, talk to you, what's the web address? What's the easiest way for them to get into contact with you?
You can find us on Instagram. We're pretty active there, at Soul Aligned Sisters, or our website. There's a link in the bio on Instagram that will take you there, but the website is soulalignedsisters.com. And we partner with companies to do lots of different like projects around documentation and creating trainings and playbooks and things that help support employees have a better experience.
Yeah.
But the things I'm really passionate about are getting in and mentoring, helping them set up a mentorship program that will continue each year, whether I'm there or not, helping with like leadership, coaching and things like that. Because we want to help people really understand that it's, not a bad thing to actually care about your team.
God, Becky, this was so great. Thank you so much for sharing all that information and your time. Thank you again, Becky, and thank you all for listening. And now, into a little description of our upcoming hypnotic journey to the Akashic Records, and then into that journey. The Akashic Records, the Hall of Knowledge, universal awareness, collective consciousness, Christ consciousness. There are so many terms for it, and probably we all kind of see it or experience it a little bit differently, each of us, through our own perception, based in the context of our own lives and memories. And while I don't personally think it is a place, like a real place, I do believe that our awareness and our perception is the foundation of our life. It's my understanding that being able to access universal wisdom, everything that ever was, is, or will be, is something that we have access to. And so however we do it, whether we access this information via hypnosis, whether we do it in meditation, whether we're incredibly psychic and we do it and we don't even know it, maybe we do it in our dreams, maybe we do it when we journal or write. Like sometimes when people are, like the Game of Thrones, it's like, how is that not a world? Like, how does that much detail exist? And that doesn't exist somewhere. So I think this idea of the Akashic Records or the Hall of Knowledge is a place that we can go and to gain insight and wisdom about ourselves. And, I'm not completely sure about how it's actually set up on the other side, but I know how to access it via hypnosis. And one way we do that is to take a hypnotic journey to the Akashic Records, to the Hall of Knowledge, and we find your own room in that space. So I know that other people do this. Other people have, meditations and journeys where you go to the Hall of Knowledge or the Akashic Records. But this idea of having your own room in the Hall of Knowledge or the Akashic Records is something that oh my gosh, all the ear flapping in these dogs. Everybody's waking up from their naps. So the first time I ever heard about like our own personal room in the Akashic Records is from Terry Uktana, and she has the Akashic Records podcast. She basically, these 15 to 20 minute podcast episodes, she packs so much information in them. So go check it out if you haven't. But she does a lot of work, obviously, with the Akashic Records. But one of the journeys or meditations that she has had that I've done from her, it was the first time I ever experienced like creating your own room there, like intentionally. And what's so cool is like I've noticed that once I did that, and since I've been back there countless times, that it's a place that I've actually gotten glimpses of throughout my entire life. Odd things like lighting, odd things like the way you can look out a certain shaped window at like a tree that's a certain height. So it was actually like really validating and just made a lot of sense. Like once I was like consciously, intentionally going to that space. So I just want to give a shout out to Terry Uktana because I did not come up with this idea. And it's an idea that is in more places than just the Akashic Records podcast, but she was the one who introduced it to me. So I like the idea of being able to go to a space repeatedly because, as you've heard me say before, hypnosis, the more we do it, the easier it gets. And when I say the easier it gets, the more easy it is for us to be in that trance state and then actually like accept, understand, and observe what is coming to mind. Feeling safe and confident in that space helps. So the more familiar we are with something, just the more safe we feel typically in that space. I created this track for the people in the kinship membership this year, 2022. And I gave it to them at the beginning of the year so they could listen to it over and over and be prompted to go farther, quicker, deeper, even faster every time that we get together. So the way we gathered this year, most of the gatherings were about 90 minutes. And for a lot of them, we did a hypnotic journey together. And if the hypnotic journeys at the beginning of the year were about 40 minutes long because the induction was longer, because you do it more, you just need less of an induction. And if you're like, what's an induction? Listen to episode 3 of this podcast, Anatomy of a Past Life Regression. The induction really is how we get our clients into that trance state so we can start to guide them, ask them questions, help them get the information that they want. So the more often you do it, the less of an induction you actually need. So you can make it a little bit shorter, you can make it a lot shorter. And even there's stories of people like Dolores Cannon where she did a lot of research with the same clients over and over. And for the sake of time, they eventually were able to just go into a hypnotic trance by hearing her say one word. And so that's how we can do it. So I wanted to give the people in kinship this opportunity to experience their room and just really be in it and prime their mind to easily go back and easily absorb information. So I'm going to share it here with you today because why not? And you can use it as much as you want. So this hypnotic journey is more of a directive hypnotic script. And when I say directive, the opposite or the other option would be non-directive. So directive is like a lot of times what you experience in, say, clinical hypnosis, like stopping smoking or weight release or whatever you're doing. And it's really the hypnotist is just, not just, but like is speaking the whole time. And you are just relaxing, observing, listening, absorbing. And in that way, our mind can change and shift for sure. And then non-directive is more like what we do in a spirit guide session, in a past life regression, in a space between live session, where I get you into that trance state via the induction, which looks like a guided meditation, but it's different. And then I ask you questions. And then based on your answers to those questions, I ask more questions and we go different places or we go deeper into wherever we are. So it is a little bit different. So this actual journey is a directive script. So I wanted to offer that to my kid members just to really, really prime their mind and give them the opportunity to like just go to their room in the Akashics to rejuvenate, rest, relax, feel good, but then also to really prime them. So when we meet together, as the months went by this year, the inductions got a lot shorter so we could get more information, have more time in the session for them to get information about their lives, about their questions. So they would get more information that way because the time that we were in trance, less of it was about the induction and more of it was about them understanding whatever it is, whatever the journey we were doing, whether they were looking into soul contracts or why did I pick my parents or why did I pick my kids or connecting with loved ones on the other side. We did so many different things. But in that gets the opportunity for people to go farther. And then, of course, because we're meeting in that group setting, if the induction's shorter, we can get more information and then we had more time for discussion at the end. So it's just a really nice track. Even if you're not going to be doing it more than once, it is still incredibly rejuvenating and just really opens your mind to getting information from the Akashics, from the Hall of Knowledge, from that collective consciousness, whatever it is, the higher power that holds all the knowledge that ever was, is, or will be. That is what we're accessing here. So where this next bit is going to start, I start with just a few minutes of, we're going to plunk right into the recording that I had shared with the kin members. So in this recording, you'll hear me give a little bit of a description about it, and then we go right into the journey. And that is how this episode ends, at the end of that journey. So before we get into that little bit of a discussion and then the journey, I just want to say, as always, thank you so much for being here, and take anything that makes your load lighter and just leave the rest. And so in this, because it's not really a question and answer back and forth, you can just listen to this as you fall asleep at night, and you don't have to worry about like, did I get enough information? Where did I go? Why can't I remember it? And it's really just priming you for you to be able to do the firewood episodes, the different journeys that we do through kinship. I'm going to be using more of this Akashic Records, and you going to your room in the Akashic Records to get your information. And so the thought is there that the more often you do it, the easier it gets, so less time it takes to actually get you there. And someday very soon, you'll be able to like just sit your butt down, or don't even sit your butt down, just like close your eyelids, or maybe don't even close your eyelids. But someday you'll be able to kind of access that knowing in a way that feels good to you, whether you're re-listening to these hypnotic journeys this month, or maybe you just get so used to it that you can imagine yourself in your room in the Akashic Records and you can just access that information, or just simply relax in your room. Because if your room is anything like my room in the Akashics, it's like a place that oddly I've been fantasizing about for longer than I even knew. So use this hypnotic journey to just simply listen to it, prep your mind, get some good hypnotic suggestions just for you to be able to access this information about yourself, about the world around you on a more regular basis and in an easier and easier way. With all that, let's get started. So kick back, relax, close your eyes, plan some uninterrupted time, get comfortable, sink into the softness. As you relax into this journey into your special room in the Akashic Records. Finding a place, a space, a position where you can totally relax. Know that as you get comfortable here in this fully supported position, know that any fidgeting, any moving, anything you need to itch or adjust, any throat clearing, know that any sort of fidgeting is a part of your relaxation process. And you'll notice, you'll do the thing, scratch the itch, fidget a bit, whatever you have to do. And then your mind will be drawn to how much more relaxed you become after the fidget. And pretty soon that fidgeting fades. And now what I want you to do is bring your attention, your focus to your breath. And just observing your breath, riding the waves of the inhales and exhales. And now know that effortlessly and automatically, with each exhale, you become deeper and deeper relaxed. Deeper and deeper relaxed. Bringing your awareness to your eyelids. And just know that effortlessly and automatically with each exhale, Your eyelids become heavier, softer, stickier, just drifting to the sound of my voice. Know that if your mind starts to wander or you drop too deeply asleep, you'll hear my voice saying the word now. And this word now will sound crisp in your ear, and you'll wake up and you'll refocus once again on my words and on the journey as it unfolds in front of us. And now connect to your grounding root system. Imagine your roots moving from you down deep into the earth. Imagine your roots reaching far and wide, reaching so deep all the way to the core of the earth. In this healing, nurturing, protective energy of Mother Earth, it's running to you through this root system, grounding you to Mother Earth, holding you in her protection and freedom. And now open your crown, the very top of your head, and imagine that healing light from above. Imagine that healing light coming in through the crown of your head. And like a warm flow of relaxation, this light, it moves down the back of your head, the sides of your head, along your ears and into your neck. This light is filled with the healing wisdom of the universe. And as it melts down your forehead and your temples, it sends a wave of relaxation across your forehead, eyebrows, all the tiny muscles around your eyes, your cheeks, even your tongue relaxes. And now know that this light is filling your neck and pooling in your shoulders. And as this light continues, begins to pool in your arms, as it touches, fills, and relaxes the space between your shoulders and elbows, the space between your elbows and wrists. And imagine this light pouring into your hands all the way to your fingertips. And your arms feel so heavy at your sides. And now this light moves down your spine, sending a wave of relaxation from your shoulders all the way to your hips. And this light fills your hips, balancing out your root chakra, opening you up to the beauty of this experience. And now this light fills your chest, opening up your heart center, that connection to your divine. And as this light fills your chest, it overflows into your abdomen, bathing all your organs in this healing light from above. And this light moves into your legs, moving into your thighs, knees, calves, ankles, and it pools in your feet, relaxing every muscle, every tendon, every ligament, every tissue, every fiber, every cell. An exhale of relaxation for your entire mind, body, and spirit. You are now totally connected to that healing light from above and the universal wisdom that it carries. And now imagine, sense, feel that spark of light in the center of your being, your soul self, this ancient, all-knowing part of you. And by simply bringing it into your awareness, know that this light is growing bigger and brighter. This light of your soul. It begins to grow so big and so bright. Imagine it forming a protective, loving bubble of light all around you. Have this bubble of light surround you with its love and protection. And you are now totally protected, grounded to Mother Earth, and connected to that healing wisdom from above. Only truth and love can penetrate this bubble as you go deeper and deeper relaxed. You remain here in this protective, loving bubble of light. And now the light of your soul begins to reach out, bringing peace and harmony to everyone and everything this light of your soul touches. As it fills your home, your neighborhood, your city, imagine this light of your soul reaching out, bringing peace and harmony to everyone and everything in your country, the continent, across the entire planet. Every day, more and more, you are aware of this light that you are and the power it gives you. Every day, it gets easier and easier for you to know and trust this power, this light that is you. And now imagine this light emanating out, growing even bigger and brighter, expanding to the farthest corners of the universe, expanding into all that is, everything that is you, merging with this light and this energy, knowing now that this light, this energy is beginning to take the shape of a special place. You notice that you're standing on a path, and you begin to move down this path now. Moving down this path, noting the beauty of this place, seeing the joy and the wonder here. In the distance, a building begins to take shape. You've been to this building before, and as you move closer, you know this is where you want to be. This building looks like a grand library or a temple, and you see the large marble staircase, the large wooden door, and above the door the letters say Hall of Knowledge. There are 10 stairs, and before you move up those steps to get to the door, know that with each step, you'll begin to feel more and more peaceful and calm. Moving up the steps now. 1. moving slowly and intentionally. 2 more calm. 3, 4 more peaceful now. 5, 6, 7 deeply relaxed. 8, 9, and 10. At the top of the stairs, on the landing, feeling totally calm, totally peaceful. You walk across the landing, looking at that large wooden door. As you place your hand on the doorknob, you feel the texture, the temperature. You know that this place has all the knowledge that ever was, is, or will be. And you know that you'll be able to get the answers that you want today. More clarity and insights around your soul's gifts. Knowing this now, you open the door and move inside of this beautiful, inviting hall of knowledge. You step in and notice the wood beams across the ceiling, the light streaming in from the windows, hallways leading in every direction. An inner knowing guides you to where you need to go. Today, in this hall of knowledge, you're going to your special room. A room where you can learn about your life's plans, your soul's memories. Knowing this now, you begin moving down one hallway in particular. This hallway draws you into it, and as you move down that hallway now, you see a woman standing there in long white robes to the floor. She waves you over and you feel so loved and welcomed. She brings you into a room and you glance around this room. This is your personal room in the Hall of Knowledge. You look at the woman who's smiling with loving and caring eyes, and she lets you know this is your room. Whether it seems familiar or not right now, this is a space you've been to before. Over lifetimes, in between lifetimes. She invites you to move around the room, knowing that this is your special room in the Hall of Knowledge, the Akashic Records. The woman explains that this room holds all the knowledge that ever was, is, or will be. Knowledge specifically relevant to you, your soul, your life. More and more of this room is coming into focus, into your awareness. You move around the perimeter of the room, noting anything that comes to mind. Colors, shapes, textures, tools, tables, desks, sitting areas, windows. You might even see things that you may not even know what they are or how they're used. Imagine yourself moving around this room, noticing maybe the angles of the walls or the way the light comes in from the windows or what's outside the windows. There are no wrong answers here. Just observe what comes to mind. Be curious, observe, and remember. As you've moved around this room, you notice there are many different areas, different places for you to relax. Choose one of these places now. Getting comfortable in this place. As you settle in, you feel so at peace here. It's this overwhelming feeling of being held and free, protected and open, connected to the greater force behind our lives. Everything about this space is warm and inviting and unique to you. For now, just be in this space. Maybe you're relaxing with your eyes closed, or you're relaxed observing your surroundings in this special room. Just be here. Relax here now. Feel yourself in this space. And now tune into the energy of the room. Maybe it's familiar, maybe it's new, maybe it's a mix of different kinds of energies or feelings. Maybe you can almost get the sense of the personality of this room. Know that the more often you visit this room, the easier it will be to access the information, the peace and healing from this realm. We're going to take 3 deep breaths now. As you do this, the colors, shapes, textures around you will become even more vivid, even more detailed. More and more with each breath and each heartbeat. More vibrant details. Taking those 3 deep breaths now. Inhaling fully, exhaling completely. Just at your own breath rate. Deep cleansing breaths. And after that last deep breath, just return to the natural rhythm of your breath. And now tuning in again to the realm in the room around you. Maybe you can pick up a warm or inviting scent in the air. Maybe there's soothing ambient noise or a cushion of silence around you. Notice even more about your room. Just simply relax and observe. This space is all you and all yours. Just enjoy being here. Know that this room is yours and you can access all the wisdom that is for your highest and greatest good whenever you need. The information that you need for your highest and greatest good, it changes every day. So come back as often as you'd like. And we'll come back here together. Just know that in this space, you can always invite your spirit guides or anyone else on your spirit team to join you for a visit, to get answers or insights, or to help with healing. And now that you're in this totally relaxed space with your subconscious mind more and more attentive, know that in this space you'll hear messages that will deeply and firmly be planted in your subconscious mind if you choose to allow it. You can allow it by simply listening to the words, noticing any impressions, sensations, images, emotions, or anything else that comes up in response to the story or the experience. Follow my words and allow this experience to unfold into the experience that will serve you in the highest and best way. Every day, I discover more and more about myself that I love. I see more and more of the universe's magic at work in my life and inside my body, mind, and soul. I see the divine around me and feel more joy and wonder. I see the divine within me and I feel more joy and wonder. I see the divine around me and I feel supported and at ease. I see the divine within me and I feel supported and at ease. Every day I see this more and more around me and within others. Every day I feel this more and more within me. I am both a teacher and a student in my life. As I learn, I share my knowledge through the way I live and how I react to others. Feeling more aligned, more at ease, more connected with the divine. There is a solid alignment between my mind, my heart, and my soul, and all the actions I take. Every day now, I know more and more about myself, my soul-aligned desires, my grounding and being centered in who I truly am. I know I am my ultimate home and safe space. Every day I feel lighter, brighter, like the shiniest version of my sparkling soul. Taking a few moments of silence to allow any other messages, insights, wisdom, impressions to come through. Trust and allow. Just simply observe what comes to mind, and you can analyze it later. Observe and remember. Observe and remember. And now, as we begin to leave this high realm of wisdom, this hall of knowledge, the Akashic Records, remember this loving world is always with you. Everything you've experienced, all of your thoughts, memories, insights, they'll be retained to help and empower you into the rest of your life with renewed energy and purpose. Your immortal self is completely joined with your human self as a single unit. As we now return back through space and time and dimensions into the present moment. In the days and weeks to come, you'll get more insights in your dreams, meditation, and moments in your everyday life. You can achieve this wonderful state and connect to this experience anytime you want by just remembering and asking while in a meditative state. As we begin our journey back toward the present moment, imagine yourself floating through a healing mist. You can maybe envision the color or the shades of colors, maybe the shine or the sparkle in this healing mist. Know that as you move through this healing mist, any trapped emotions from your soul's history or your ancestral line, anything that's no longer serving your highest and greatest good, is released now for all space and time, forever and always. And because of this, every day more and more, you'll feel more free, grounded in exactly who you are, compassionate to yourself and those around you, and even Mama Earth. On your next inhale, breathe deeply in, bringing in more oxygen, more energy into your body. I'm going to count from 10 to 1, and when I say 1, you'll be totally back in your body. You'll be balanced, you'll remember everything, and you'll be ready for the rest of your day. 10, knowing that with each inhale, more and more energy into your body. 9, 8, remembering everything you experienced. 7, bringing the lessons and wisdom back with you. 6, feeling renewed. 5, feeling wonderful. 4, more aware of the room and what's around you. 3, feeling the softness around you, feeling the clothes on your body. 2, feeling sensation in your fingers and toes. And 1, feeling wonderful, balanced, ready for the next part of your day or night.